Good afternoon, everybody. So as you can see, they randomly decided that we were going to use our webcams on meetings today. Again, I know it happened not too long ago, but once again, I had seriously, my boss emails me, he's like, we're doing webcams during our meeting today. It's like, fuck. So makeup goes on, hair gets done, accessories go on, clothes get changed, all 9 yards. So if I'm looking a little bit better than normal, you'll know why, but, I'm getting kind of inspired by all these stories that are going around. Like, everybody at work today is going to a graduation. I swear to God, like, either their kids are graduating from college or their kids are graduating from high school. One of my coworkers' daughter is graduating from 8th grade, which it doesn't sound like it's a big thing, but actually it is a big thing in certain areas. So I just kind of, I'm getting ready, and I've been dragging my heels. It's been coming for years, I swear. I'm getting ready to go back to college myself at some point, hopefully within this next year. I have a couple little bumps in the road I have to take care of first, and I'm in the process of taking care of those. But yeah, so I wanted to kind of share this story with you. I think everybody who's on here knows me and knows stuff, but as far as like my path to getting into college and finishing college and getting into my career and being where I'm at with my career was not an easy path whatsoever. I was that kid. I mean, I came from an extremely poor background and a very poor education system. I had there was no drive in me to go to college. I mean, there was some, but there wasn't a whole lot. I mean, it wasn't, I wanted to, like, first of all, when I was really young, I wanted to be a police officer. Back then you didn't need to go to college to be a police officer. I don't think you still do, but I think there's something you have to do to get into the police academy now. I mean, they prefer that you have a bachelor's degree. But I wanted to be a cop. So I figured I was never going to have to go to college. That wasn't the thing. But then I also wanted to be a wife and a mom. That was my main goal, was being a housewife. Believe it or not. People are like, oh my God, that's like, they can't even envision that happening. But yeah, I mean, that was always my thing. I wanted a family. And even when I was very young, I remember that kind of being my goal. So when it came time to figure out what the fuck I wanted to do with my life as a young adult, it was a tough road. Because there was no money saved back for, we were a very poor family. So there wasn't like there was money stashed away somewhere for me to go to college. I got accepted into Harvard when I was 16. Because I graduated from high school when I was 16. So this is 2001 when I graduated from high school the first time. That's another story in and of itself. But I was homeschooled, which people often think that means that I was like socially stunted. My mom like fixed my grades or whatever. My mother did not fix my grades. Oh my God. My mother was told by a professor in Belgium that she was grading too hard. So anyway, I graduated high school at 16. I got accepted into Harvard for a teaching program. I wanted to be an elementary school teacher. I wanted to teach that. I wanted to do pre-K or elementary. And then I also decided if that didn't work, I wanted to teach history in secondary school. So I got accepted into a teaching program at Harvard. The idea was that they would sponsor you for tuition, room and board, and all of that. And all that would be covered, but then for every year you were sponsored, you would have to teach in the Boston public schools for 2 years. So I was looking at 4 years of college and then 8 years of teaching in Boston, which at 16 years old really didn't sound like it was going to be too long. I'd graduate by the time I was 20 or 21, and then teach until I was almost 30, and then we'd be good to go. All right. That didn't wind up working out. My parents didn't want me going to Boston on my own at 16, so they refused, and I turned it down as a result. Not a bad thing. I don't want you thinking that was like some big, oh my God, like major pivotal moment in my life. It really wasn't. Actually, I think my parents did me a favor, because if I'd gone to Boston, I don't know, I think I'd be so different. Like my life would have turned out so different, and that's a whole other ball again. But anyway, so what happened was Shannon and I went and signed up for community college. We both got the Pell Grant, which was great. I didn't even realize I was eligible for that back then. And then student loans, of course, which almost everybody goes for. You know, I didn't know what I was doing, but I got those. And then I finally got into college, and I went to sign up for school. And the intention was still to teach, by the way. That's always kind of been one of my things. And I got into, you know, figuring out what your major is. So I'm meeting with my academic advisor, who, by the way, told me to do my best, but not get my hopes up. They sat down, they get me my compass test, scored, not surprisingly, incredibly poorly in math, but then went off the charts with my English, which also, it wasn't really all that surprising. I mean, I wasn't like terrible with math. I got placed into Algebra 1 in college, which, you know, it wasn't god-awful, but it wasn't great either. The first class I ever flunked. First and last class I ever flunked, actually. But anyway, I was not dedicated to my college education back then. I had no skin in the game whatsoever. I was working full-time. You know, Shane and I signed up for college, God, when was it? It was November of 2006. So I was 2005. And then we started in January of 06. So I was almost 21 when I started college. So I actually went into, instead of teaching, I checked the box for being a crime lab technician, because right before I went and signed up for college, one of my elementary school teachers talked me out of becoming a teacher. She said it's too much work, people don't appreciate what you do, it's too many hours, not enough pay, blah, blah, blah. And me being young and impressionable, I took her on it. And crime lab technician was also something I was interested in, so I signed up for it. Turns out I love science, but I hate law. So all my science classes, all my forensics classes were great. I was coming home with like evidence bags every single day with ninhydrin and silver nitrate on them, and doing, you know, magnetic fingerprinting, and then blood spatter trajectory, which, by the way, we're the only house on our block that had correct blood spatter on our windows for Halloween. You know, those fake little clingy things. I refused to put them up there in a way that would not have actually worked forensically. Shane hated me that year, I swear to God. But, you know, I loved it, but then the other side of it was the law classes. So I was doing 22 to 23 legal briefs per week. Very quickly realized that I hated law. Which is funny, because at one point or another, I wanted to be a cop, and then when I figured that wasn't going to work out, I decided I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a medical law and ethics lawyer. So, yeah, that's never going to work out. But I used to do debate team and things like that to kind of get me, and my 7th grade teacher told me that I absolutely had to invite her to my first courtroom date, because she wanted to see me just shine like hell at being a lawyer. Because I can talk through anybody pretty much. But yeah, so we did that. But then it became very obvious very quickly that I just wasn't in it. Like, I had nobody believed in me. I didn't believe in me. My dad told me that it was cool that I was in college, but he didn't expect that I was actually going to finish. Because my dad said I lacked drive. He wasn't completely wrong. By the time so I dropped out of the first school I was at, which was the Macomb Community College. We moved, though, so it was a legit reason. And then I started at OCC, Oakland Community College, in 2007. Actually, my first day was the day that Lila was born. Or our first week was the week that Lila was born in 2007, so September. It still hadn't completely, I went in, if I remember correctly, I started out on a gen ed for OCC. And, yeah, it just didn't, nothing clicked for me. Nothing clicked for me. I was doing my general education requirements, and I was dropping out of classes like it was going out of style. I mean, seriously, my first semester, I started out with 5 full-time classes, and I wound up with 2. Because I dropped out of the other 3. By the time I got to my second semester, they actually were getting ready to kick me out of school. They were getting ready to cut off my financial aid and getting ready to kick me out of school because I just wasn't getting it. Luckily, shortly after, while I'm walking out of my academic advisor's office, I saw a thing for the social work program from the MSW program. Not MSW. MHA. Sorry, the MHA program. And I'm standing there and I'm reading about it, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And Mel Shudnoff, who's one of my teachers, walks up and he's like, are you thinking about the MHA program? And I said, well, I'm just seeing it, and they're getting ready to kick me out of school, so I'm really not sure if I'm going to be able to do it or not. And he goes, well, it sounds to me like you just haven't found what you want to do yet. I'm like, that's fair. He's like, so he asked me about myself and about what I'm doing with school and what my life has been like and all these other things. And he goes, tell you what, stop by my office next week and let's do your interview and see if you're eligible for the MHA program. I'm like, all right, cool. Fine. Sure. Awesome. So I stopped by his office the next week. I did my interview and they got me into the MHA program. And it was funny because I'm sitting there in the office reading through all the information about stuff I didn't know about mental health and social work, because my degree is officially in social work with a specialization in mental health, which I've always had an interest in. So, all these things about this program, and I'm starting to it's starting to finally click that maybe I had just been looking in the wrong spots. Maybe I'd been listening to everybody tell me that I wasn't good at this shit for so long that it just got pounded into my head. I graduated. It took a bit. I wound up having to do a summer semester and everything, and my internship was a nightmare. But I wound up graduating from the MHA SW program with an AB average. I wound up graduating from college with a 3.41 GPA. No, 3.49. Sorry, 3.49. And I had a full-time job, a full-time internship, and those last 2 semesters, I was doing 16 credit hours per semester. I don't remember shit. Don't ask me. But, it was a trip but then, I started doing my internships, and I really, I knew it was what I wanted to do. By the time I actually got into, my first or second class, and I was really, really good at this, then that's when things finally started to switch for me. During the course of this, of course, my last semester of college was when Alex and I got together. So that was March of 2009 when I went out to California. So when we decided I was going to move out with him, we decided to wait until I'd finished college, and then I'd just get a job when I got out to California. So I graduated, which was an amazing day. I really didn't think I was ever going to do it. I remember walking down the pathway, and they had us split up by campus because we had multiple campuses for OCC. But, and then Shane and I were going to walk together, but my teacher talked me out of it. Gail talked me out of walking with my sister instead kind of having my own self-identity. And I remember walking down that thing, and I held my diploma up at my dad. And I remember looking at the video later and thinking, dear God, I'm such a pain in the ass, but I'm holding it and I'm just smiling from ear to ear. I really legitimately thought it was never going to happen. I really, growing up the way I grew up, closed boundaries, very poor family, not knowing where your next meal is coming from, job losses, and then the economy tanking, and all of these different things. It's just, I think you get it in your head over the course of time that you're going to be stuck in this forever. Flash forward, I moved to California right after I graduated. So I actually graduated, we did the commencement in, I think, May, the end of May, beginning of June. I had to take a summer course after to actually fully graduate. So I did English Composition 2 over the semester, over the summer, and then I literally moved a week after my birthday. So mine and Shan's birthday was August 30th of 2009. I moved on September 9th. Just bam, just gone. Lila's birthday is the 7th, so I wanted to make sure I was still there. It was her second birthday. So, but yeah, so I got to California, and I didn't actually start working in social services right away. I worked at Target for a little under a year before we moved to Alaska, because there were no, the social services jobs back then were looking for bachelor's degrees. So even just having an associate with a year of experience wasn't enough. We moved to Alaska, though, and I made a comment. We rented a house from a lady when we first got to Alaska. And I made a comment that I got a job interview with, I think it was Home Depot or something like that, and Walmart, right after we moved. And she goes, you said that you have a social services degree. And I'm like, yeah, it's just an associate's degree, though. She goes, well, that doesn't matter. My daughter worked for this agency. I think they'd be cool. I think you should really give them a try. Like, all right, I still went and I did the job interview for Home Depot, which, by the way, I got hired. I'm training for Home Depot, and I went and I did my job interview for Reach. And that was my first official social services job. I was a week into training at Home Depot when Reach called me and said, no, we're going to pay you $3.50 more an hour to be a caregiver. And I called my boss at Home Depot and I went, I got a job at Reach. I'm going to go ahead and take that. And she goes, yeah, I kind of figured that was going to happen. So I did that. I was a caregiver for a little over a year before I decided that I wanted to use my case management background from my internship and do something a little bit different. And I wound up working for Juneau Alliance for Mental Health Incorporated for just under 3 years. I was a case manager. I was a residential case manager. It was one of the greatest experiences. I have hiccups. I'm sorry. One of the greatest experiences of my life, career-wise, and I met a lot of friends there. I made a lot of really awesome connections. I met a lot of really awesome people. Moving to Alaska was one of the best things that ever happened in my career. I became an integrated treatment specialist while I was there. I did a whole bunch of trainings and learning things. Really tried to make it so that I was very well-rounded with my career. And then, of course, we moved to Seattle, and I knew I didn't like the job I took when we moved to Seattle, but, it was less than a year. I told myself there was no way in hell that I was staying in that job for more than a year. It was just not going to happen. It was a stepping stone. And I think they knew that too, because when I walked in and told my boss that I was going to leave and I was going to move to United Healthcare, she told me she wasn't surprised. She said, I told the executive director that we were going to lose you. And I'm like, okay. So I tell you this story a little bit, and then of course now I'm with United Healthcare. I started out as a member navigator, and for the last year and a half, I have been a supervisor. I ran the entirety of the Northeast region for my segment, and we're getting ready to go further from that, and now I'm starting to talk about going back and getting my bachelor's degree. I tell you that to tell you this. This is a very long story. It would have been very easy for me at multiple points in my life to throw my hands in the air and say, screw it. And it wouldn't have come as a surprise to anybody in my life if I'd done it either. I want to make that clear that for as great as my personality is and everything, I really did. I learned to let go of things very early in my life. My dreams, my aspirations for myself, anything that was important to me, I learned that it was expendable, that I had to learn to let those things go. So when it came to college and things like that and a career and things of that nature, I just never thought it was going to happen, but I made it happen. When I almost got kicked out of school and I finally figured out I wanted to do MHA, I had to write a letter to the dean saying why they should let me in, why they should keep me in school, why they should keep giving me financial aid. And if I hadn't gotten that opportunity with MHA, I really don't know that I ever would have gotten it. I don't know that I would have finished. But I did. And it turned out I was super fucking good at it. And I am still super fucking good at it. I'm not as client facing now as I used to be because I'm a supervisor, but it's still a process. And my team is one of the greatest teams we have in the entirety of this particular portion of the company. I mean, I was telling one of my supervisor yesterday, one of the things I think that makes us distinctive, and I really hope that this is part because of how I've trained them, but it's also because of the people that I've hired. We don't respond to angst and aggression with angst and aggression. Everyone on my team, myself included, has learned, and I hope that this is what I've instilled with them, is that we respond to aggravation from people with love and compassion and kindness. Obviously there's something going on here. How do I help you? What can I do for you? That's what's made us successful. And that's what I learned over the course of time. People responded to my own. I had people in my life finally who responded to my doubt and to my lack of confidence with well, how do I help you get past that? Because obviously I see your talent. I want to make sure that you use it. It has not been an easy road, but I tell you that because I did it. 10 years ago, I started my internship 10 years ago. It's been almost 10 years since I graduated. And it blows my mind that I've gotten where I'm at. I've gotten where I'm at now by perseverance, by not giving up, by saying fuck it to letting go of things. I have a really awesome career. I'm really happy where I'm at. And I know that other opportunities will present themselves, and that's okay. My thing is always going to be, am I happy? Am I satisfied with what I'm doing? Am I making the impact I want to make? And had I not taken those steps and just said, you know what? I'm just not going to listen to everybody. I'm just going to fucking do it. I walked into my academic advisor's office with my degree in my hand. Right after I graduated, I set it down on her desk and I went, well, you were wrong. No, I didn't graduate with honors or anything like that. I was that close. But I graduated. I walked out of there with a 3.49 job experience and life experience. And she looked at me and she just nodded and she goes, you're right. I was wrong. And that's my story. That's why I'm at where I'm at. Don't give up. Keep, the struggles we go through are necessary to get where we're supposed to go, to balance us, to teach us, to get us, the areas we want in life. And so often I think we're so content to settle with what's mediocre that we fail to see what could be extraordinary. So, I urge you to see the extraordinary in yourself and to say fuck it to your naysayers. Have a good day, everybody.